Hello everyone, and welcome to our lab masterclass on the topic of botanical oils. Do let me know if you can see and hear us clearly in the chat. My name's Anna, I'm the membership site coordinator, and my colleague Kelly will be in the comments answering any questions for you that we don't cover in the masterclass. Today, I'd like to introduce our guest. Obviously, this month has all been about botanical oils in the lab, and we've covered all sorts of different topics from sustainability to how comedogenic they are. And we have the pleasure of having Thomas Kerfoot with us today. So thank you for joining us, Thomas. Thomas is the CEO of Makers Ingredients and O&3 Oils. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about what he does in his business shortly. But welcome, Thomas, to the Botanical Oils Mini Lab Masterclass.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me okay.
Everybody's saying it's sounding good for the moment. Do let us know if you can't hear us at any point. Tech issues can and do happen. So, Thomas, can you start by telling us a little bit about what you do with oils?
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you so much, Anna, and Formula Botanica for having me. It's a real privilege to be talking to yourselves and your network of formulators. So it's a super exciting time for us. But yeah, no, so essentially, I'm a co-founder with my two sisters of a company called O&3. So O for oil, and then the 3 because there's 3 siblings, myself and 2 sisters. We're a British company based in the north of England, and we have facilities in both Poland to cover the European market and both the USA, where I'm speaking to you from now, to cover the USA market. Essentially, what we are a everything natural oils company. So we don't do any of the baddies. We just focused on the goodies. So if there's a botanical seed, raw material out there, we will try our very best to extract oil out of it. And then we tidy up the oil in the best possible way to get you the most benefits out of the oil. And then we will distribute it in various different pack sizes to anyone in the world. We supply 46 different countries, from small indie startup brands who just want a kilo, 5 kilos, all the way through to the big brands, the big players that we all see on our television adverts day to day. So a very wide spectrum of clients, a product range of 850 different natural oils in stock at any one time, and some really quirky niche ones that I'm sure we'll come to later on into this chat. So one of the reasons why we wanted to speak with Formula Botanica is that we are great believers in startups and cosmetic brands that want to promote the use of natural oils in their formulations. So yeah, it's a delight to be here.
Thank you so much for that, Thomas. And yeah, just to sort of clarify a little bit as well, as part of your 2 businesses, you operate a business-to-business model with O&3, and then you're sort of direct to consumer as well through Makers Ingredients. So you're perfectly placed to support indie formulators with smaller quantities, but also you scale up then with businesses as they scale up.
Yeah, exactly right. So O&3 is very much a B2B business. So we're supplying manufacturers of cosmetic ingredients. Anyone that's the smaller producer through to the larger producer. However, we set up makersingredients.com this year because we were getting more and more demand from people that are wanting to sample a lot of our products in stock. So on makersingredients.com, you can buy a 50 ml, a 10 ml of an oil, so that you're not intimidated by the MOQs that are thrown out there. So all avenues are covered as far as we're concerned.
Brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant for our community who, vary a lot from people who are just starting out with formulating to people who are well established with their business. So that's great to hear. Thank you for that, Thomas.
Great.
So while we wait for some questions to come in, I thought it would be good to start covering some of the basic things that you would say are important to consider when selecting an oil.
Absolutely. So, I mean, as a business, we are our bread and butter, as we call it. Our focus is carrier oils, butters, waxes, that sort of thing. Carrier oils really is our main focus, and there are a number of things that you want to, as a formulator, look out for when selecting your carrier oil. Now, that come in a number of things. So, first of all, you want to really have a think about what you are trying to achieve in your formulation using natural oil ingredients. So let's start off with the functionality aspect. So taking a look at the fatty acid profile on a specification of let's say pomegranate oil as an example. So pomegranate oil, very well known for its high punicic acid content, which is a very rich antioxidant acid. So you want to be achieving a high punicic acid on the fatty acid profile. Now, any supplier, whether it's ON3 or anyone else that you're buying oils from, should clearly state on their specifications a very clear fatty acid profile. All of the ON3 specifications are available on our website for download, so you can have a browse at your will. But making sure that you are getting the functionality that you want out of your ingredient. That's number one. Second part of it is probably color and aroma. So when choosing a carrier oil for your base formulation, you want to decide, look, do I want an aroma from this oil? So then, yes, I want an aroma. I would go down the cold pressed route. So you're getting maybe a bit of a fruity or a nutty aroma to your cold pressed oil. Cold pressed oil, cold pressing is essentially a very simple seed friction press, no heat, no chemicals, no additives, and then straight out the other end to be filtered. It's a very, very natural process, the most natural process you will get when producing carrier oils. So when you're getting your cold press, you'll get an aroma, you'll get a slight taste, but ultimately, because you are using a cold press manufacturing method, you're maintaining the inherent benefits of the raw material. So it's a fantastic way to get functionality out of your formulation. Now, on the other flip side of the coin, if you're wanting minimum aroma, minimum color, a very good, solid base oil for your formulation, and also probably cheaper, you want to look at a refined oil. Refining uses heat, uses steam to basically eradicate the aroma of the oil, remove some of the waxes from the oil. So you're getting a very, very lipid oil that's clear with a slight bit of color in it, usually yellow, golden in color. So they're the two big decisions that you need to make, because ultimately, if you put a cold pressed oil into a formulation that is green, say, for example, avocado oil, your formulation will turn green. So it's getting that balance right. But if you don't want any green in it, then maybe go for the refined so that you're not getting that color to affect it.
Yeah.
The final part of the process is, which I see as equally as important, is the story behind the ingredient. So making sure that the manufacturing methods are sustainable, the way in which the oil was produced is eco-friendly as much as it can be. And also, very importantly nowadays in cosmetics is having that sustainable story in place. So whether it's aiding a cooperative or zero waste, as we'll be talking about later on in this chat. Yes, really, really important points to think about. Something I will mention, Thomas, is that our Formula Botanica philosophy is mainly to use cold pressed and unrefined oils where possible, but we do realise that lots of people in the industry might prefer to use refined for the reasons that you've stated. They might prefer not to have that colour. We sort of like to encourage people to embrace the different colours and the textures of organic ingredients where possible, but there is totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I for one, just having seen the functionality of cold pressed oils, and preferably organic cold pressed oils, there is so much to obtain in your formulation by using them, and the claims that you can make, the impact it has when it hits your skin, your hair, is so apparent in comparison to a refined oil. So wherever possible, go cold pressed, in my view.
Yes, I think we agree on that, definitely. But there is something for everybody out there, so it's worth mentioning. Absolutely. This isn't a question, but Shell's just made me laugh because she said, 850 oils. I feel a shopping spree.
It's good to hear.
So, Shell will be shopping later, and just to let everybody know, you do have a discount code for Makers Ingredients, and that will be embedded in the masterclass section of your mini lab, so you can shop, you get 15% off. So if you do hear any of the oils that we're going to talk about today and they spark an interest for you, then please do go and have a look at the website, but that we'll come back to that later on.
Great.
So we had a question from Ken. How can you ensure consistency across batches and your suppliers when it comes to your oils? This is a really good question.
Absolutely.
Or for me as a formulator, what is the best way to ensure my formulated product is as consistent as possible? I have noticed even with the same supplier, the same product vary a lot. What are your recommendations around this?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily here to harp on about the marketplace and how things differ, but I mean, one thing as ON3 that we get frustrated with is we often see a client come to us and say, look, I have a cold pressed oil that is this color, but yours is a different color. It's a very common problem. Now, a lot of the time, once we do our investigations, is ultimately that supplier that maybe they've been buying it before hasn't necessarily been very clear on the manufacturing methods. That is the first thing to look out for. So asking the question, is this cold pressed? Is this cold pressed and deodorized, which the deodorization part can hugely change the product. So making sure it is 100% cold pressed and understanding the manufacturing method of that oil, very, very important. The second part of it is ultimately as the dealing with origins and cooperatives and producers from all over the world, we have a specification that I was mentioning earlier that you can access on our website. We use that as our template to go to any manufacturer. So they have to deliver that oil according to the specifications. So when you see on the specification color, green to dark green, it will fall within that spectrum every single time, with us anyway. But you have to understand that we're dealing with cold pressed natural ingredients here. So variation, volatility is a huge thing. So harvest can change it. The amount of heat an avocado has had, the crop cycle of that year can all have a massive impact on the final color and aroma of an oil. So we try our very best to get consistency, but you have to, as a formulator, expect some variance in that. The second thing I just wanted to mention on that point is probably the most important aspect of a specification for any formulator or producer of cosmetic products is the peroxide value. Now, the peroxide value on the specification determines the freshness of the oil. So for a cold pressed oil, we say anything less than 20 peroxide value is a good indication of fresh oil. If you're getting a cold pressed oil for 5 or 6 on your certificate of analysis, then you've got a very fresh oil. If you're getting a peroxide value of 30, 40, the oil is not so fresh. Ultimately, the peroxide value means the oxidization of the oil. So the more heat it is applied, if you've left the lid off for a day and lots of air has got into the oil, the peroxide value will rise significantly. So making sure you have a fresh oil, always look at the peroxide value.
Fantastic. Thank you. Great information there for people. I know it's a common problem when it comes to organic formulation. I don't think there's an ideal sort of solution. Like you said, there will be always some variance in your ingredients, but great to know that you provide all of the documentation that people need.
Absolutely. It's very it's a common thing we get with formulators is, oh, there's a slightly different color and that sort of thing. To me, and I appreciate how frustrating it may be for formulators sometimes when there is that variation, but ultimately to me it means you're getting a really raw ingredient here. You're getting something that has been harvested, pressed right away, and you're getting the pure oil. And I think the variation actually reflects the naturalness of the oil, because if it was the same color every time, you'd question, how do they get it that same color every time? So it's important.
Yeah. I think also it's worth noting that consumer opinions have changed on this as the natural organic market has, evolved. I think at one point everybody expected everything to be white and everything to be consistent from, one to the other. But I think people have started to understand now that if they're purchasing something that is natural, that there will be a certain amount of variance.
Absolutely.
Because brands have done a lot of education around this. So I think the market is changing in that sense. So
absolutely.
Okay. Got another comment, lovely comment from Sylvia, who said, I love how Makers Ingredients package their product when shipping. So that's a really nice
comment. Great to hear. Great to hear.
Claudette asks, is it a good idea to mix several different penetration rates in a blend? So I'm assuming she means, different viscosities of oils and how quickly they would penetrate in the skin.
Absolutely. So we're doing a lot at the moment. So we do a lot of facial serums, which, ultimately I believe that the ultimate facial serum is using a variety of cold pressed natural oils. So we'll do like a super berry blend, and that can basically take the highlights of every single cold pressed oil and put it into one. So let's say pomegranate for its punicic acid, carrot seed oil for its vitamin D content. And strawberry seed oil for its antioxidant profile, and basically building a super berry oil, something that's really, really effective. And ultimately, all of the cold pressed oils, I say all of them, not all of them, most of them have a similar absorption into the skin. Especially with the fruit seed oils, you're going to get a very similar texture, a very similar absorbent rate. So blending those in and creating that superpower blend is a really great, really cool way of going about creating a facial serum or a body serum or even a hair serum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose it all depends on what you want your formulation to do, because if you're creating a massage oil, for example, it's going to be very different to a facial serum, which you want to penetrate much more quickly. So yeah, lots of scope there with botanical oils. And we covered some of this in our lessons and our lecture with, just the variety of botanical oils available to you as a formulator. So lots to think about.
Absolutely, it can be a there's so many out there that it can be quite overwhelming, but really zoom in on your message as a brand and what ties in well with that. A great example is we had an indie brand approach us recently that wanted a vegetable patch range. So we actually, off the back of that, we've created a range that is vegetable orientated. So we've done carrot, cucumber, apple, tomato, amongst others. And it's really cool, the message that you can build as from a marketing point of view, not only as a functionality point of view.
Fantastic. That sounds really interesting. I love the idea of a veggie inspired
exactly product. Who doesn't?
Yeah. We've had another question, and we'll go back to it quickly. So we did touch on this, but somebody asking to clarify the differences between your businesses. So
absolutely.
Yeah, Makers Ingredients is your direct-to-consumer brands where people can buy small quantities, and 0 & 3 is your business-to-business brand. So you're looking at large quantities at that point. Is that correct?
Yeah, so 0 & 3 is the parent company, which supplies predominantly B2B, so to direct to manufacturers or even someone that is smaller that wants 5 kilos of this, that, the other. Makers Ingredients is really a sampling website. It's for people that want to have a play, great for formulators, and you can order anything from 10 mils through to 5 kilos. So it's a one-stop shop. The beauty of it is that we have all avenues covered. All the oils are coming from the same factory, everything. It's just 2 different platforms. So you want to spend £50 or €100 on a variety of different oils, Makers Ingredients is the place for you. As you grow, we will grow with you as 0 & 3, and you can contact us at any time for any support. And when you're at a size where you want to order larger quantities, obviously we can provide better pricing for you on that.
Fantastic. Thank you for clarifying that. We have a few more questions coming in. So Shell has asked, is there anything coming up new in trends in oils? So it's a big thing, isn't it? Trendy oils come up every now and again, and they change all the time. So what's coming up that is new and exciting?
Yeah, I mean, I slightly touched on it in that. So we've all been through the rose hips and the argans and the things like that. Fantastic products, and quite rightly, they're at the forefront of a lot of the major brands nowadays. But we always have the pressure on our back of coming up with something new. So we are constantly looking out for the next botanical to extract oil from, such as there are classics out there that just haven't got the attention that we feel they should have, like the carrots, like the blueberry, like blackberry, things like that are so rich in antioxidants and great omega-3, 9, 6, 9 profiles. So we've kind of gone a little bit back in time and sort of revamped those. That's very much the trend. We're seeing a lot, especially in the summer months, a lot of cranberry, a lot of apple, a lot of cucumber, shifting through our doors, which is great. So one particular oil, not really. There's not a trend. The one thing that I mentioned earlier, we're seeing a lot of people wanting us to do a lot of sort of superpower blends. So a formulation of really antioxidant power oils blended into one, so that they can bottle it for an oil serum of whatever that may be. So we're seeing a lot of that.
Fantastic.
Sorry, one thing to note, just on in terms of market trends, the one thing we are hugely seeing is a shift towards organic. I mean, organic has been growing and growing, but ultimately organic just gives that stamp of approval across the board. The consumer is so much more aware of the power of organic now. So we're seeing that trend just go up and up and up. And further to that, people wanting the least possible manufacturing process in the production of their ingredients. So cold pressed is only growing, and is becoming a lot more prevalent in the market because it is such a simple, natural process, which people want.
Yeah, fantastic. That's really interesting to hear that organic is on the up. And I'm assuming you work with several different types of organic certification. Would you like to talk a little bit about certification while we're
Sure.
on?
So we have a number of certifications. Our main one is where we're Soil Association certified. So we've worked with Soil Association a long time, a very well respected certifier. And if you're looking to certify your brand, I would very much look towards them, especially if you're in the UK, because it's very recognized. But we're also Cosmos certified. So anything across really the world, predominantly Europe. We're Cosmos covered on that. And then we've literally just launched Cosmos Natural. So Cosmos Natural is an interesting one because let's say, for example, you have a cold pressed, pick another oil, cold pressed raspberry oil, but it's not organic. We can certify it Cosmos Natural so that you're still getting a certification, although the product is not organic. The Cosmos Natural essentially means it has been produced, grown in a 100% natural way. So then you get that stamp of Cosmos Natural on it. Yes. The beauty of the Soil Association certification is it corresponds with pretty much every organic certification in the world. So if you're in America, USDA accepts a Soil Association certification, EcoCert, they all work in collaboration. So it's a great certification to have.
Yes. And now Cosmos has brought several different certifications together as well for the Cosmos Organic and Cosmos Natural. Like you say, got the 2 tiers, and that brings together a lot of the different certifiers that previously perhaps were working by themselves. They've come into the branch of Cosmos. So if that's of interest to you and you want to, go down the certified organic route for your brand, then obviously sourcing certified organic ingredients is going to be a big part of that because of your Soil Association or True or whatever sort of logo you want to go down the route. You will have to have some kind of process for sourcing those ingredients. So
absolutely, and not forgetting another important one that's very on trend at the moment is Leaping Bunny, which I'm sure many of you guys watching are aware of. And again, we will go through the hand-holding process of certifying our Leaping Bunny certification. But I mean, the beauty of the products that we're offering is we're offering natural ingredients, so it makes our life very easy. If they're organic, it's very much a black and white scenario of yes, they're organic, no, they're not. If it's Leaping Bunny, all of our products are Leaping Bunny certifiable. We don't do any animal testing. We don't do any animal derived ingredients except for beeswax, which debate whether or not you call that animal derived, but it's yeah, so we avoid all of that. So it's very simple for us.
Yes, fantastic. Peggy is asking, besides being a UK-based business, did I read somewhere that Makers Ingredients have a location in the US also to avoid the international shipping charges?
Absolutely. So we launched Makers Ingredients, crikey, 6 months ago, and we've had an overwhelming amount of interest in the USA. I'm actually based here in the US with the team here, and we are currently in the process of opening up a USA facility for both OWN3 and Makers Ingredients. So come February 2021, Makers Ingredients will be available to USA clients. We can ship to the USA today, but it comes from the UK, and so charges do apply, unfortunately. But we totally recognise that we need to get here quickly. Hence why we will be open February next year. If you drop us an email at Makers Ingredients, we're saving people's details, so we will let you know as soon as we are operational in the US.
Fantastic. Yes, we've had another couple of questions around sort of this idea of Makers Ingredients and OWN3. And so just to confirm, the brand will take you through your whole entire journey. Make contact if you're interested at any point with Thomas, and he can talk you through what is best for your needs. Essentially, I think that's the easiest way to do it, isn't it, Thomas?
Absolutely. I mean, we're all the same team, Makers Ingredients and OWN3. So if you have any questions, pop us an email at OWN3 through our website, own3.com, or makersingredients.com, and we will get back to you as soon as we hear from you.
Fantastic. We've had a question from Flo, and Flo has asked, I am looking at infusing a few oils that are high in linoleic acid, and I am aware that they can oxidize quickly. How would you advise that I avoid this?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily just pinpoint high linoleic acid oils here. I think a very important rule of thumb that every formulator should be aware of when using oils is that there are three things oils hate: heat, sun, and air. So making sure when you receive your oils, please don't just leave them wherever is easiest for storage. Let's really think about how you're storing these oils, because they can degrade very, very quickly. So when people receive their oils, we suggest keep the lid on at all times. And the less air you get into the oils, the better. So keeping the lid on, storing it in a dark cupboard. Some people put them in the fridge. If you put them in the fridge, that's totally fine. But just understand that because there are natural waxes within a cold pressed oil, the oil will solidify, create a waxy formula within the oil over time. And that is purely the coolness congealing within the oil. All you need to do is take out the fridge well before you're going to start formulating, and make sure that the waxes melt before you utilize the oil. We get a lot of questions of people saying my cold pressed oil looks hazy, looks a little bit cloudy. That's the natural waxes. That's the goodness within the oil. So we like to keep it in there. Now you can filter that out using filter papers, but I would keep that in because that's essentially the goodies. Making sure you keep it away from direct sunlight, and making sure you do not keep it in a hot room. So just below room temperature is a great temperature. People store it in their garages at home, or in a cool warehouse. That's what you want to be doing.
Fantastic. Yeah, we did talk about this a little bit in the mini lab itself, about storing your ingredients, and also just rancidity can happen with some ingredients more than others, and not necessarily just relying on an expiry date when you're formulating, because sometimes environmental aspects can mean that an ingredient goes rancid before its time.
Totally. Yeah, you can tell when an oil is rancid by its aroma. I mean, most cold pressed oils carry a slightly earthy aroma to it, which is great, but when it's rancid, it's really quite unpleasant. So just make sure you look after those, because some of these ingredients are expensive, and so that they need to be maintained in a certain way.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Can I just circle back, Anna, to the whole point on rancidity? Is that, as I mentioned before, the first thing when you receive your delivery from a supplier is look at that certificate of analysis, which you should receive on every delivery, whoever you're buying from, and you check that peroxide value. If that peroxide value is low, you know you've got a fresh oil. If it's high, you're looking at an oil that's verging off rancid. So make sure you check that peroxide value.
Very interesting. Yes, we did have a question on the peroxide value. So you will find that in the certificate of analysis, Thomas has said, that you will receive with every single order, certainly for mixed ingredients and with your company, but you should receive it with everybody, you say, Thomas?
You really should. And, most suppliers out there will provide that without a problem. It's a standard quality check that every sort of oil supplier should do, and I think pretty much does do. So make sure you find out the peroxide value. You check your C of A against your specification, and make sure that number is within the limit that is agreed on the specification.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Amber's got a really interesting question, and she's asking, is there a way to find out which of your oils are harvested and grown in the UK and what part of the UK? But I suppose we could broaden this out to anywhere in the world, because there's quite a big trend for people wanting locally sourced ingredients. So how do people go about finding locally sourced ingredients?
Yeah, so great question, and very on point, because we're literally about to have a website revamp at ON3, which should be live in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And ultimately, you're going to be able to filter our full 850 database down to parts of the world. So you'll be able to see exactly where each ingredient comes from. So you can search England and see what comes from England. Now, we get English sourced ingredients questions a lot. Unfortunately, England is not the greatest place on earth to grow raw materials. I hear you've had a very good summer, Anna, so maybe the climate will change and it will be good one day. But at the moment, England's a very tricky place to produce a lot of the cold pressed oils that we're offering, purely because of the climate, because of trying to get farmers to dedicate space to some of these things when they can, grow high volumes of things like rapeseed oil and things like that. So the UK produced ingredients list is limited. However, there are a number of ingredients that we do produce in the UK. So if you look on the product profiles on our website, you can see the origins are clearly stated. And if you email us, we have a list that we can send you of England produced oils. That's not a problem. But the UK list is not overwhelming, I'm afraid, just purely because of the climate that we're faced with.
Yeah, and on a purely sort of carbon footprint sort of point of view, we have a whole podcast on this topic at Formula Botanica. But essentially, something might have a lower carbon footprint if it's grown further away in the world because of the climate, because of the way it's grown, and actually shipping and freight isn't the biggest booster of carbon in itself. So we understand that people want locally sourced ingredients as part of their sustainability story, as part of their, just because they want to have something local. People have pride in local ingredients. But it might well be that from a carbon footprint point of view, there are so many ingredients that it might make much more sense for them to be grown somewhere else because of the climate.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, there's a number of majority of the ingredients that we offer simply would not grow as a botanical in the UK. So that's why we have locations in Poland as well, because Poland are one of the largest producers of fruits in the world. So we have access to a wide range of fruit botanicals in order to extract oil from. And we're tied into many cooperatives around the world that are producing these botanicals on our behalf.
Fantastic. I think now is a great time that you've just touched on the topic of fruit. We did touch on this a little bit earlier too, but it would be a great time to talk about, we've just published on the Formula Botanica blog, a fantastic blog post from yourself, Thomas, about 10 zero waste oils that are available and, perfectly on trend at the moment for this trend that people want of sustainability. So could you talk to us a little bit about zero waste and what you're doing with zero waste at ON3?
Absolutely. So although we are a sustainable business, we try and strive to be a sustainable business. we have a lot of pressure on retailers now that filters through to the brand, and then the brand filters through to suppliers like us to improve the sustainability of our ingredients. So it's a key focus for us and has been for a long time. So whenever we're producing a new ingredient, we very much analyze the way in which it is produced and the impact it has on both its local community and the environment at large. Zero waste ingredients, predominantly cold pressed oils, have a really appealing story to them for zero waste. And that is mainly because the way in which they are manufactured, every part of the process, something is the byproduct is used. So I'm going to pick out an example of cranberry. So cranberry seed oil is a great one. And ultimately in Canada, where we produce a lot of our cranberry oil, Canada is the largest cranberry juice producer, one of the largest cranberry juice producer in the world. And because they're manufacturing for the juice, there is a lot of seed byproduct. Now, a number of years ago, it was recognized that within these seeds, there are huge benefits to the oil. So the seeds are then dried and pressed for the oil, producing a wonderful golden cranberry seed oil. So then fast forward a few years, and then we're faced with supermarkets. And let's say, for example, Tesco's, who are wanting more and more seedless jams on their product shelves. That put a lot of pressure on fruit growers, because ultimately they had to then find a way of removing the seeds from the strawberries before they went into jam production. This created waste and was very frustrating for these people at the time. But thankfully, they soon recognized that there is a lot of opportunity within the seeds that they were extracting. So once the seeds were extracted from the pulp of the strawberry, they were dried and then pressed, and you're yielding around 25 to 30% yield on a strawberry seed. You have to use a lot of them, obviously. And what we've created, not necessarily just us, but others, has a micro market for the cosmetic industry. And strawberry oil is used in a wide array of high-profile formulations nowadays. And it's fantastic because it's using the strawberries for the jam, the seeds are being extracted for the oil, the meal that is the byproduct of pressing of the seeds is then used for animal feed. So we have a full cycle process, zero waste, and it's a huge marketing tool for brands and great for our conscience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic marketing story, but also, you know, one of the main arguments that I've heard against the use of naturals and botanicals, and specifically oils, is, well, you know, they have a very high carbon footprint and all of these things that people are saying, or, you know, synthetics are actually better in that sense because they're created in a lab. But when you're using ingredients that otherwise would be going to waste, like would happen here with these sort of seeds in terms of, you know, raspberry seeds, cranberry seeds, those kind of things, then fantastic, because we're using something that is already out there, already exists. The market exists for the rest of the product as well. So it's not purely grown for the purpose of cosmetics, but we're able to have a fantastic product. And strawberry seed oil is one of my favorites.
It's a belter. And you know, going beyond that is so the byproduct of cold pressing is the meal, which is essentially the crushed together seeds. So the oil goes off in one direction, the meal goes off in the other. Most of the meal is used as animal feed. However, the meal still contains a very high percentage of oil within it, which couldn't be caught at the cold pressing stage. So the meal, what we do is we grind the meal to different sizes, and it's now used as a natural exfoliator. And some of you may remember last year, well, the past couple of years, there's been a lot of bad press about microbeads and synthetic exfoliants in the market and how they're ending up in our oceans. So this has been a great alternative for formulators to put a full circle strawberry oil, strawberry exfoliant all in their formulation. So it's been a tremendous success.
Yeah, fantastic. So Kelly's put the link in the comments, but I'll also link it in the mini lab for that specific blog post, and you can read the top 10 zero waste ingredients. But also you can go to the Makers Ingredients page, and you can see it does talk about which ingredients are zero waste and which are sort of part of that process. So that's great. We've had a couple of questions about different parts of the world that you ship to. Could you just tell us a little bit about your shipping policy? And, because we have students from everywhere, all around the world.
Absolutely. So we ship all over the world. So as Owen3, we ship to 46 different countries, and there isn't really a country that we couldn't ship to, really. So our doors are very much open from that point of view. We obviously, with the dreaded Brexit word is coming up, which is not great news for a business like us, because we are an import-export business. However, we are about to open our European facility, so all of our European clients can either order through Owen3 or Makers Ingredients. That will be in place in the next month. And yeah, we ship to South America, Africa, all over the place. So if you have any questions about whether or not Makers Ingredients can ship to you, just drop us an email at Owen3 and we can get back to you accordingly. So you may have to order through us, but we will get you your product. Just let us know what you need.
Fantastic. We've had another really interesting question from Leslie, and she's asking about best before and manufacturing dates. So she's saying that she's in the US, but one of her oil suppliers will only put a best before date on their labels. Other people state on their websites product is good for 12 months from manufacture date. But if they're not giving you the manufacturing date, should this not be a standard in the industry?
Sure. So when you're as we were talking earlier about peroxide values, when you're looking at the specification, the peroxide value relates to the shelf life. So if we have an oil that does not oxidize quickly and will maintain a low peroxide value, you can sometimes get 24 to 36 months out of a cold pressed oil if stored correctly, as we covered earlier. But when you receive your oils from whatever supplier it is, you check the C of A. The C of A should have the manufacturing date and the best before end date and the peroxide value on the certificate of analysis. You must match that with the specification and the label and make sure you are getting a full end-to-end process here. Otherwise, it's a potential for the oil to turn rancid in your formulation. So doing that quality control check at the start, especially on cold pressed oils, which are incredibly volatile, is very, very important. Just to remind you, check the specification, place your order, receive your order, check specification, C of A against your label on your product. Good to go.
Fantastic. We've had a couple of questions about the polarity of oils, which is a more sort of in-depth topic. I don't know whether you can send any information on this. It's certainly something I think at Formula Botanica we need to explore, giving more information to our students on.
Excuse my naivety. I'm not sure. What does polarity mean? I'm not sure what that one means. I did see that pop up.
Yeah, so it's a slightly more in-depth question. So I think what we'll do is, because there's a few questions on this, I will get one of our tutors to come live specifically on polarity, or we will create some kind of lesson on it, because I know a couple of people have asked, but I am not the person to ask either on this. So we will get a tutor in to answer that one for you.
Fab.
Yes. Sorry if we can't answer that today, but we will work on it. Claudette has asked, is there anything to look out for when blending oils that would conflict with each other?
So when blending oils, you need to consider the following: color. So making sure you're getting the color profile that you require. So before you're ordering your oils, look at the specification and make sure that the color, if you're a great example is cold pressed, let's say cold pressed sunflower oil, lovely, beautiful golden oil. Then you may want to blend in tamano seed oil. Now, cold pressed tomato seed oil is a thick, viscous, pretty horrible black oil. I mean, we sell a lot of it, and I always question what people do with it, but people love it. And it's a really black oil. So if you're blending those two together, you're going to get a very black oil. So you've got to think about the color profile. Second part is the aroma. Again, using tamanu as an example, it's a very spicy aroma. So, you know, if you're wanting to blend sunflower and tamanu together as an example, just make sure you get the ratios right. Have a play, get some samples on Makers Ingredients and have a play. You've got to get that ratio right. Otherwise, you're going to get one that overpowers the other. So color, aroma, super important. Further to that, again, is look at the peroxide value and the fatty acid profile, and just make sure these are ranges that you are comfortable with. As I said before, if you get a high peroxide value cold pressed oil, you have an oil that could turn rancid very, very quickly. Now, if we fast forward where your product ends up on the supermarket shelf or in your local beauty shop or whatever, wherever you're selling your products, if they're in a clear bottle, it's not great for the oil. So you've got to really think about this. And just sidetracking, we always suggest keep your oils in a dark bottle. Do not let the sunlight back it. And I totally appreciate that you want your brand to be presented in a certain way and for people to see the color of the oil. That's great, but there are risks to it, because if you're using cold pressed oils, the sunlight will affect the oil and its shelf life. So dark bottles are always best. But yeah, no, those are the things that I would consider when blending.
Fantastic. Amy has asked a little bit about the different fatty acid profiles and whether, you know, different oils are different, suited to different skin types. And Amy, we did touch on this a little bit in the lecture by Susan Parker, where she talks a lot about fatty acid profiles. And we also talk a little bit about this when we talk about the comedogenic ratings and how they were worked out, and how really they're not the best guide that you should have. But Thomas, have you got any sort of anything you want to add on the fatty acid profiles?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately for a cold pressed or refined oil, the other than the peroxide value on a specification, I'm sorry I've gone on about that a lot. The most important part of a specification is the fatty acid profile. So depending on what you're wanting to produce, you should zoom in on that and really just check, okay, that's exactly what I want to achieve. Now, the fatty acid profile determines the essential fatty acids of the oil. So your omega-3s, 6, 9s. Now, funnily, we're going to be doing a blog shortly on ON3 about what linoleic acid is good for, what oleic acid is good for. But there's a wealth of information online about, things to look for. So if you're zooming in on wanting to make a hair oil, which fatty acid do you want a high content of? I won't go into that now because we will keep an eye on our blog, and we will be writing something there in the coming days. But it's very, very important that you do your research with regards to, yes, I want a high oleic content. Yes, I want a high linoleic content, and picking the right oil for you.
Yes. Yeah. Make sure that you're all subscribed to their sort of mailing list, so that you can get the scoop on these fantastic blog posts as well, and check them out on social media, which would be great. Let's have a look. Do you have a bundle of oils for new formulators to formulate with, or anything like that? I know we have had this discussion.
Yeah, no, we so the best thing for this on the Makers Ingredient, you can order 50 mils of however many different oils you want. So you can go to town. So ultimately, you can create your own bundle. Use your 15% Formula Botanica discount code, and essentially it's very easy. Just click 50 mils of whatever oils you want, add your basket, 15% discount, and you're ready to go. So that would be my suggestions for now. The problem with bundles is that we would have to guess exactly what cold pressed oils you want, and there are so many of them. So we would rather you pick them yourselves. So it's a bit of a pick and mix and do it yourself sort of thing. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah. And we also have lists for our students of different oils that we recommend for starting with. But I think part of the fun of formulation, certainly it is for me anyway, is buying things and testing them out yourself. And there's no sort of substitute for that, really. So yeah, try small amounts to start with, because obviously costs can add up sometimes. And then you can test the skin feel, you can test the aroma. You can see what they might be best suited for, and you can experiment that way. So it's great that, you know, these smaller sizes are available to us.
Absolutely. And the 15%, we've got no plan on turning that off for Formula Botanica. So you guys order away as long as you like. It will be there for the foreseeable.
Fantastic. Well, I know our community really appreciates that. So thank you, Thomas.
Great.
Leslie has a really good question. And it is there a meter or a testing process that I can do at home in my at-home lab or in her lab, wherever she's based, to check the peroxide value of oils once opened and all of those things? Or is that a purely something that your manufacturer can test?
Very difficult to do at home. In order to do it at home, you would have to buy... there's an automated way of doing it through a machine that is pretty expensive, so I would not suggest that route. The second route, there's a chemist method using it's a little bit above my head, but various things in order to work out the various sort of chemistry type ingredients to work out the peroxide value. From my point of view, I would avoid that. Find a supplier that you trust. Trust the certificate of analysis that they send you, because that is a reflection of what you are being delivered. So if you trust your supplier and you're getting your peroxide value on your certificate of analysis, there should not be an issue with it. With our clientele, you know, for example, we will ship a cold pressed oil to the other side of the world, and because it's been in a hot container, or FedEx have taken longer than necessary to test it, we retain a sample. We will do a peroxide test for you as soon as you email saying, can you just run a PV test for me? And we will retest it for you and send over a result. I would personally avoid doing the testing yourselves, because it's got to be done in the right conditions, in the right way. So lean on your supplier to do that for you.
Fantastic. Another one from Leslie. Leslie has said, are oils affected by sunlight as much as lotions, soaps, emulsions, and those kind of thing when you're using a light coloured bottle? I know you did touch on this previously, but maybe we could talk a little bit more about packaging. Yeah, no,
packaging oils, huge topic, and something that is not given enough time. So lotions, soaps, that sort of thing, by no way are as affected by light, heat and air as oils are. Oils are extremely volatile, and dark colored bottles, lids kept on, away from heat, ideally in a cool semi-refrigerated area. That's really how you want to be storing them. Now, as you've packed them, you've done your formulation, you've put it into your finished packaging, sealed, labeled, ready to go. The oil will be fine. You know, you're going to get a 12, 24 month shelf life out of that product. That's not a problem. It's really making sure that you're not sat on stock for a good year before you then utilize it. So buy smartly. Buy 1 kilo, 5 kilos if that's what's going to tie you over. Don't buy a year's worth of ingredients, because that's when you'll come up with problems.
Yes. Yeah, fantastic advice there. And, you know, obviously something to think about when it comes to packaging your final products as well. If your products are oil-based, ultimately, you know, we obviously recommend some kind of antioxidant, but, you know, if you're creating body oils, face oils, you know, hair oils, then you want to be thinking about your packaging.
It's a great point, Anna. You know, we do a lot of people will buy some vitamin E from us, some tocopherol, and put that into their oil blends, which is a great addition and acts as an antioxidant. We also do nitrogen splurges for clients. So if before we seal the lid of your container for shipment to you, we'll put a nitrogen splurge on top, which is just a splurge of gas into the top of it. Very natural. Put the lid on, and then essentially it's kind of a blanket over the oil to make sure oil is protected from oxidization.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. We've had a lovely Vanya has given us some information here on
thank you.
Polar oils.
Yeah.
It's not simple. Bless her. So it says polar oils contain heteroatoms that differ in electronegativity. This results in a dipole moment. So there's a big long explanation, but yeah, thank you so much, Vanya, for that. I think getting one of our tutors to talk about polar oils will be something that we will explore. So I will look into that for you. Don't worry, we will come back to it. But yes, thank you so much for that. It's a lot to read out right now, but it's a very thorough explanation. So thank you for that. Yes, so I think we're coming to the end of the questions here. Cynthia wanted to know that how long is the 15% off valid for? We've already covered that. Cynthia, it has no expiry date in sight at the moment. So shop away for as long as you want to, as we will obviously let you know if it expires at any point. But yes, for now, go ahead. It's good. Let's just double check that we haven't got anything else outstanding. We had a question about, would you recommend buying from the UK or from Poland if you're in Portugal? So I suppose
don't
where they are in the world.
Yeah, don't worry about that. You simply, when if you're ever contacting ON3, we set up your account, we totally recognize where you are in the world, and we ship from whatever facility we see as the most cost effective for you. So you don't even need to think about that. You'll be introduced to an account manager and they will take it from there.
Fantastic. That's great to know. That will put a lot of minds at rest. So yeah, simply get in touch and, everything will be sorted out from there. And it's fantastic. We've said this a few times, but it's absolutely fantastic that you can take people from, beginner formulators as a direct to consumer. They just choose what they would like in small quantities. You make that contact. And then as they grow their businesses and they scale up and they need more from you, you make that contact and you can take them from there. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, I've said to you before, Anna, that we have witnessed, and I think it's interesting for the people watching to understand that I've witnessed some incredible stories from people starting in their kitchen, starting in their garage with very small quantities and turn into brands that have ended up in Sephora, have ended up into Boots UK, have ended up into these major retailers, significant growth. And not only is their enthusiasm for their brand and producing a good product is a key factor, but clever ingredients, key ingredients, doing your research on how your ingredients are made and the message that you can give from them, the functionality of the ingredients has been the recipe for these brands to be so successful so quickly. So do not rush this process. Do your research and lean on your supplier, and your journey will be a successful one. So it's why I love doing this with you guys today, is because there's nothing more exciting from us than watching a brand grow.
Fantastic. And what a lovely note to end on, Thomas. That is absolutely brilliant. We know that supplier relationships are so important for our students and for our graduates as they go on to launch their brands. So that's a brilliant message to end this masterclass on. Thank you so much for everybody who has joined. Thank you, Thomas, for your time. Everybody has really enjoyed it. We've had some lovely comments. So thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk oils with you, and yeah, it's been really informative. So thank you, everybody. This masterclass will be embedded in your mini lab so that you can watch it again if you choose. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, they can catch up, and your discount code will also be in the membership site. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you so much, guys, and good luck, everyone. And ask if you ever have any questions. Thanks, Anna.
Thanks. Bye.
All the best. Bye.